So I'm not sure if folks understand we're going to split up the press conferences into two different. One is a briefing on the 14-year-old that was murdered last night, and then separately we're going to make the announcement about progress on the case involving Captain Duff and Troy Clark. As folks know, late last night there was a 14-year-old that was shot and killed. And I was at the scene talking with neighbors and residents, and I mean, what do you say, right? It's a tragedy for our community, but particularly for someone so young. As a father, I just can't imagine what the family is going through right now. This type of violence impacts not only the family, but the community at large, and there's so much trauma that we continue to experience as a community. As many people know, we are working tirelessly, not just in the police department, but across all departments, to ensure that our community is safe and to respond to this uptick in violence that we're seeing around the nation and in New Haven. And that is everything from increasing walking beats, bicycle beats. We're expanding the use of cameras, and we'll be rolling out additional cameras, expanding ShotSpotter to help us respond more quickly and collect more information to hold these individuals accountable. We've restarted the shooting task force. We've expanded street outreach workers. We've expanded youth engagement workers with our Youth Connect program. We have opened the Reentry Welcome Center, Project Safe Neighborhoods, and Project Longevity. I speak at every call-in. And we are working to invest in the long-term health of our community, because ultimately we are not going to be able to address issues related to gun violence with policing and more responsive efforts alone. I'd add one other thing, that I submitted a letter to Congress about ghost guns and making sure that we have federal legislation to restrict the use of ghost guns. And while we haven't seen a significant number of ghost guns in New Haven, this is one other component of illegal gun trafficking that is facilitating more people having guns, and the impact of that on our community is significant. I'm going to hand it over to the chief to talk about some details on this case, but I wanted to just take yet another moment to thank the police department for the work that you're doing. I know you're working tirelessly, because I see the overtime numbers, and it cannot be easy for you all, but we're relying on you, and you're making progress. I see that as well. Very grateful for the work that you're doing. Chief?
Thank you, Mayor. Last night at approximately 10:51 p.m., the city experienced its 19th homicide for the year. Anonymous call was called in about a large group of individuals, and then an individual shot. Medical response and the police arrived, and a gunshot victim was brought to the hospital, where he succumbed to his injuries. The victim is a 14-year-old from New Haven. His name is Tyshawn Hargrove. The investigation is in the early stages, so at this time we don't have much. The detectives are going back out to do more canvassing. We're asking for anybody who has any information to please reach out the anonymous tip line, to call the detective bureau. The district manager is available out there. There will be presence out there. Please, any information is helpful. We don't know that you might have the one piece of information to be able to put some puzzle pieces together for us. At this time, that is all that we have. We will continue to update if we have any further developments that to be released to the media. But we open to any questions that you may have.
Chief, there was a lot of surveillance cameras that could be very helpful in that apartment complex where it happened.
Yeah, so that's part of the detectives last night and today. Obviously, during business hours, it's more fruitful to be able to get any video. So that is part of the full investigation that will be over the next few days, but definitely important to get as much video as possible.
Chief, I know that you don't know yet the full story. Are there early indications that this was a targeted shooting or a random shooting?
So this is an isolated incident, and it's very early in the investigation to be able to surmise any further beyond that it is an isolated incident.
What does that mean by isolated? I mean, it's not connected to other things going around town?
We are always looking at any linkages to this violence, how it might be related to any other violence or any retaliation, but at this time it is still too early and we're still in the beginning stages, and we have to develop more, but we will advise if able in the future.
And there was a lot of discussion online about like social media, that crate challenge being involved. I don't know, is there anything you could comment on what was happening? Was there a big party or gathering before there?
We know that there was a large group of individuals prior. However, what led up to this is still being investigated. We're hoping with video and in kind of neighborhood canvases like we talked, we'll be able to put some pieces together, and that will definitely help us through this investigation.
How many shots were fired and how many of the shots actually hit the 14-year-old?
We have multiple ballistics that were recovered, and the individual, we'll just say he was struck by gunfire.
Who are you able to share where he was struck?
Not at this time.
And were there other people, was it like shooting into a crowd? Were there other people in danger at that point? Or?
We're still putting together the pieces of the what happened in the timeline and outline.
Did you just be clear, multiple ballistics, you're taking multiple?
No, just multiple ballistics.
And just any thoughts for parents, family members, neighbors in the area who are concerned today? We were in the area at that development.
No, absolutely. There's going to be an increase in police presence there, walking, bicycle beats. Lieutenant Fumiati, we've already been talking about that. He's here with us today. He was out there last night to just trying to reassure, working with housing, also to make sure that we're meeting any needs that they feel that maybe could be helpful, and doing some canvassing beyond just the Detective Bureau, giving some resources, Yale Child Study, other reaching out to the schools, knowing that school is going to be starting, and 14-year-olds involved with, other school-aged individuals, and making sure that we're supporting, because it's not just, this doesn't affect this one family. It affects, like the mayor said, the whole community, but the school community and his friends as well. We just want to make sure we're doing our best to be able to support at this time.
Do you have any news you can share, or anything about who you're looking for at this point?
Not at this time, but we will put something out if and when that develops.
The mayor, you talked about all of the things that the city has implemented over the last couple of months with the reentry center and the shooting task force and all of that. Have you seen that those, in summer jobs programs, have you seen that those sort of things have helped reduce the violence as the goal was?
So I think that overall, we have, over the past several months, seen not as much violence as we were seeing previous to those several months. As you know, these things are very complicated, and there are many reasons for violence, whether it's a domestic incident or an isolated incident. So I'm reluctant to say yes, that these have had a direct impact on the number of shootings and homicides, but overall, I feel like we are making progress. And just to be clear, some of these have been implemented in the last several months. Some of these have been in the work for quite some time. It is clear we have a lot more work to do to make sure that we are keeping the community safe. This is not the time to celebrate, or I think that we are extra committed to making sure that we do everything possible to keep the community safe.
Chief, can you spell the victim's
Yes.
first name?
TYSHAUN.
Okay. And it's HAGROVE?
Yes.
Thank you.
So for good, we will pause and
Thank you.